So it happened again. You woke up in the middle of the night with a great story idea for a fantasy that'll put Tolkien, Rowling, and Martin to shame, but when you groggily waddled over to your typewriter, you were struck by a sobering thought. You have no clue how to write a magic system. So now what? Do we break the typewriter, shout at the cats, and give up on our dreams? No, because that's getting expensive and the neighbors threaten to call the police again. That's why today we'll be looking at some of the best magic systems, aka the ones I vaguely know well enough to talk about, making a decision tree of sorts, and finally giving you guys my best advice for getting started with your own magic systems. Let's start from scratch. What is a magic system? Magic systems are the backbone of fantasy stories. Okay, well, maybe not the backbone, but at least the lungs or skin or something that's nice to have if you want to be alive. Anything out of the ordinary, which ranges from the entire world of Star Wars or Harry Potter to the basics of a Grimm's fairy tale where a plot revolves around a short pedophile that makes golden string. Magic systems can be a small addition to your everyday world, such as an actual good luck charm that only one character has access to, or an entire galaxy where everyone has a unique superpower. Think of it like food. There are fruits, veggies, meats, whatever beans count as these days. Then, within food, you have recipes, where you can combine food to make new types of food. Then, finally, you can combine food in a way that is delicious, or to make a Waldorf salad. Now, while we want to avoid salads like the plague, in other words, bad magic systems, everything else is in bounds. And the important thing to recognize right off the bat is that complicated does not inherently make something good. Apples, good. Apple pie, good. Apple pasta. I mean, I've never tried it, but I would assume not good. With that in mind, we don't want to prioritize how complicated or straightforward a story's magic is. Instead, we want to ask ourselves, what do we want to do with our magic? To clarify, I don't mean, I want my magic system to be used to ward off hamsters, or I want my magic system to levitate hot dogs into my mouth. What I mean is, do we want our magic system to solve problems, or do we want our magic to emphasize theme? I know, I'm using boring literature class words again, but let me do my thing. We're getting to the cool part soon. Just think about this for a second. If we want to solve problems in the real world, we have tools for certain jobs. I normally don't use a water hose for electrical work unless I'm really sad, and I normally don't use a sledgehammer for window work unless it's someone else's house. Just kidding, I don't know how to fix things. My point is that your magic system should serve some function in your story. Depending on what you want that function to be will play a role in what kind of magic system you use. Generally speaking, notice I'm saying generally here, these aren't rules to live and die by, soft magic systems are used to emphasize a story's theme, whereas hard magic systems are used to solve problems within your story. Now, what does that mean? Well, contrary to popular belief, hard and soft magic are not terms used to describe a system that is or isn't excited to see you. Hard magic systems refer to fantasy worlds where the rules of magic are pretty definitive. Earthbenders can only manipulate Earth. Only Jedi and Sith can use the Force. Only Eldians can turn into Titans or Titan shifters. Soft magic systems are less specific. Gandalf can do magic because he's a wizard, but I don't know the full extent of his powers. Sometimes he's an exorcist, sometimes he's a one-man army, and sometimes he can't do a pull-up. Likewise, while only a Jedi or Sith can use the Force, what's the extent of that ability? Can a Jedi use Force lightning, or is it more like an ability tree where you need to be evil to use it? Can anyone rip a warship out of the sky? Can a Sith have a blue lightsaber? I'm pretty sure they can, but General Grievous confuses me, and I'm not Googling this. And I can hear some of you already about to lose your anger management chip screaming, "But Andrews, you use Jedi for hard and soft magic systems. You're an idiot. Do you even dress yourself in the morning, or does your mom hold your hand?" Both. Mama loves me, but this does lead to a sure-to-be smash hit TV show idea. Magic as a writing feature exists on a spectrum where certain aspects of a system can be hard as a rock while other aspects are soft as a box of kittens. Like the rules of writing in general, magic does not have to be an all-or-nothing endeavor. J.K. Rowling uses adverbs even though it's frowned upon. Mark Twain used deus ex machina and he's taught in schools. Always remember that the writing community has rules that only apply until you succeed, so do whatever you want with your magic system so long as you do it well. There's your little motivational speech for the week. Please subscribe. Anyway, let's look at how this spectrum of magic might be used to enhance a story's concept, its theme, or even a little bit of both. Ooh, so impressive. Let's start with a hard magic example from a show that literally has a rulebook, Death Note. Anyone's name written in the Death Note will die from a heart attack. If you can write fast enough, you can create a more fun death by including details. You need to picture a person's face while writing the name so people with the same name don't die, etc. There are rules for using the Death Note, getting rid of the Death Note, and gambling away half of your life for red contact lenses. Now, you might look at this and think, "But Andrews, there are only 5 rules. I know that's a big number for you, but for geniuses like me, that's not very complicated magic, and while I'm glad you can't count, hard magic systems are not synonymous with confusing magic systems. Remember? I said that at the beginning. When a magic system has rules, it forces the characters to operate within those rules, or at least it should. The audience gets the impression that they can solve problems using the magic provided without feeling like, in this episode, something different might happen. Hard magic systems are a lot like the trust you had for your parents as a child. You think they're always going to be around until the magic system finds you annoying and puts you up for adoption. Don't do that to your audience. That's bad parenting. Now let's tumble on down to the opposite end of the spectrum with soft magic systems. This would be Gandalf from Lord of the Rings. We know that Gandalf is a wizard. We know he can do magic. But if he uses his magic to talk to a moth in one chapter, uses it to raise from the dead in another chapter, but still fights with a sword most of the time instead of casting Meteor Swarm, I never question anything or so much as bat an eye. He's Gandalf. Let him do what he wants. Short of teleporting with a friend to the footsteps of Mount Doom, there's nothing his magic can do that would really throw a wrench in the story logic. But at the same time, I still have no clue what Gandalf is capable of. And that's totally cool. You're a writer. You've never explained to your family why you're locked up in your room all day. You've never explained to your imaginary girlfriend why you're always muttering to yourself like a schizophrenic. You don't have to explain your magic system to your audience if it isn't vital to understanding the story. But with that in mind, since your audience doesn't know what your magic can do, they don't know how your magic can solve problems. Which means it's a bit of a dick move when you use your magic to get your heroes out of a story bind. Instead, magic on the more flaccid side of things can be used to enhance a story's theme of good and evil, or power corrupts. Let's look at kinda everything over here. In Star Wars, Sith often look like your roommate from freshman year who came to college for free beer and loose women. They're missing parts of their body, and the surface level fan explanation that I can give you is that the power of the dark side takes something human away from its users. I don't think that's ever explicitly been said in the movies, but it's inferred, and it's also 5 in the morning when I'm writing this, so we're just gonna assume I'm right. On a similar vein, Voldemort looks like absolute dog. Now, he has an excuse. He's 1/7 the man he used to be. Your move, Kurt Cobain. But the rest of his friends also look like they're going straight to the Twilight set after recording. We've never been told why they all look like hell, and it's probably because it's a kid's story and it's easier for kids to understand that the bad guys look scary, but we can also understand time in Azkaban and using unforgivable curses takes its toll. Now, as our magic gets a little more aroused, like in Avatar The Last Airbender, we get a mix of hard and soft elements. Waterbenders bend water, firebenders bend fire. Those are rules. Earthbenders need earth to bend, they can't just materialize it. Likewise, a firebender probably couldn't do their magic in space because there's no oxygen to burn. Those are rules. But when Katara learns about bloodbending and Iroh teaches Zuko about lightning bending, I don't feel betrayed. Blood seems like a logical extension of water. Lightning, well, I don't care enough to be that upset about it because while it doesn't completely follow story logic, lightning bending is never really used to solve a puzzle. It almost kills Aang, but that's a problem, not a solution. Its real use is to enhance the theme that power isn't good or evil, and that while too much can kill you if you take it straight to the chest, it can be redirected and guided. So, it's an extension of hard magic, but it's being used for theme. The exception to the rule isn't used to cheat the plot, but rather to expand upon another element of the story. Confused? All good. The lines are blurry. Welcome to writing. But to help you understand, let's go back to the food analogy. Let's pretend we go to a restaurant. Before we get the main course, we get wedding soup and breadsticks. After that, we get chicken fettuccine because I'm a toddler. Both parts of the meal use chicken and bread, but they are separate foods. The soft magic, aka soup and breadsticks, is delicious and serves its purpose. The hard magic, aka the chicken fettuccine, is also delicious and also serves its purpose. And while they are both aspects of the same meal, both comprised of similar ingredients, we don't mix the two because that's disgusting, you freaking degenerates. Some aspects of food and magic just don't mix well. However, let's look at a peanut butter bacon burger. A spoiler if you haven't figured it out by now, but my spirit animal is a fat kid. Anyway, this is taking two aspects of food that you wouldn't think should go together, but oh, do they. We take two things that are great on their own and slap them together for one delicious trip to the hospital. In terms of magic systems, this would be like Attack on Titan, where we have hard rules about Titans and who can turn into them. That video should be around here somewhere, maybe, if I remember to pin it. This system is used to solve problems within the world, but it also serves to enhance the themes of war, its cyclical nature, and the power struggle that ultimately ends in everybody getting smushed and unpeopled. Now look, there are pros and cons no matter where your magic system lands on the spectrum, and while it's a good idea to consider what kind of magic system best suits your story, we're going to shift to the best writing advice I can give you when it comes to actually creating a system of your own. In my experience, stories are going to start in one of three places: a scene, a plot concept, or a magic concept. This is that middle of the night stroke of genius that wakes up your imaginary friends because you're scrambling around your apartment to find a pen and paper before you forget the idea. This is your foundation for everything else. If it's magic, cool. If it's a scene, cool. It doesn't matter what pops into your head first. All creative paths lead to hell, so start here and build until your primary idea begins to take shape. Because, like a layered cake, we need something to be stable before we can start to add anything else. In all seriousness, my magic system was an accident, and it came about organically from focusing on my main concept. The character had one black and one white eye, but I didn't know why. People avoided him at all cost, but I only kind of had an idea of what he had done. He had a black bag, but I don't even think I knew what was in it when I started writing. These were things I included to increase interest during the first 5 pages of the book, but I had absolutely no clue what I was going to do with them down the road, let alone that they had magical explanations. All I knew was that I had to tie them into my main plot, which I roughly knew where it was going. The book I'm currently working on started from a scene on a ship where pirates were taking it over. I worked on the scene for maybe 3 months before realizing where I wanted the story to begin. Then I partially scrapped that idea, and my main characters start their story now in a mine looking for a type of fuel crystal. This was when I realized the stones would need a magic system, or technically a physics system. How do they burn? What else can they do? Why do people want them? Now, I'm not telling you this to promote my writing. Here it is, look me up on Amazon or follow the link in the description. It's 99 cents on Kindle. I'm telling you this because you guys need to understand that magic systems and writing in general is an art form, which is a fancy way of saying that you make a bunch of mistakes and pull out your hair a lot until it starts to work. I knew these rules of magic. I know what I do and don't like in magic systems. But no amount of advice or tips or tricks makes putting pen to paper any easier. You've just got to start with whatever aspect of your story that you can wrap your head around, build on it, tear it apart, salvage what you can, and try again. It sucks. But eventually, you make something you can be proud of and slap a fake name on it. And I'm sure some of you are thinking, so basically, this whole video about rules and spectrums was a waste of my time. Close. Just like writing, the rules matter until you make something great. So get started right after you take out your frustration on the like button. Best of luck. Blah la 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 la. The end.